Hello everyone and welcome to Nature Natters. These are going to be short sessions where we meet people in the community who are helping nature in the North Devon Biosphere. So the North Devon Biosphere is from the uplands of Exmoor and Dartmoor, down the river valleys to the North Devon coast, and then out to the marine environment of Lundy. It's a UNESCO designation. There's one of 668 across the world, and it was the first in the UK to be designated. So it's a really special place, all about how people and nature can thrive together. So we are going to be interviewing lots of people, and today we've got Dr. Mike Moser. Hi Mike, thank you for being here.
Hi Bryony, nice to be with you.
So Mike is the chair of the Nature Improvement Group for the Biosphere. He's trustee of Devon Wildlife Trust, and he has also been closely involved with the Pledge for Nature project. And he lives on an organic farm in Chulmleigh, which he manages under the Countryside Stewardship Scheme. So thank you for being here, Mike. Maybe we can start off with, you've worked in all these different countries around the world. What makes the North Devon Biosphere special to you?
Well, thank you, Bryony. Living in such a beautiful rural area as the North Devon Biosphere, it's particularly in weather like this, it's difficult to think that the world is actually suffering a global climate and ecological crisis. And my thinking, from all I've seen, is that the impacts that we've seen from the current COVID pandemic are going to be really nothing in comparison with the long-term impacts from the climate and the ecological emergency. I've visited many countries around the world. I've been very lucky to do conservation work in many developing countries and seen how rural communities particularly are on the front line of the impacts of these crises. Whether it's farmers in Iran or livestock herders in Mongolia, the impacts of the mismanagement of agricultural land or the overuse of water, it's forced many of them to leave their traditional lands, and they've ended up in the slums of the capital cities of those countries. So managing an area sustainably is unbelievably important, and even more so in the face of these crises. Now, I think the North Devon Biosphere is particularly interesting because, it's an incredible accolade for North Devon to have something like a UNESCO designation. And, the really interesting thing for me is that it covers the whole ecosystem, the rivers and the marine environment offshore. And it gives us a real responsibility and an opportunity to look at how to manage this area. I feel it particularly up here. I'm right at the top of the catchment of the River Tor. And, the impacts of land management up here, they affect whether the beaches are open for tourism down by Barnstaple. They affect whether the shellfish fisheries in the Torridge estuary can go ahead and operate as businesses. So the whole thing is connected, and that's really exciting about this area.
Do you have a place in North Devon that's your favourite?
Whoa. I think we all get drawn to the coast. We've got an absolutely stunning coast. Almost everywhere. I love the sort of heartland area, and I love it all. And of course, Lundy. Wow, very few of us actually get out there, but it's I've been there, only once myself. But what a special place it is. Absolutely fantastic. But there are gems everywhere. The amazing thing, for me is just in your local area, you can get out and find new lanes that you never knew existed, and it's such a great place to explore.
Yeah, Lundy is definitely on my list, but like you say, it's definitely noticing lots more nature around the countryside lanes, isn't it, at the moment? So maybe we go for what are the threats to nature at the moment, and what can we do to address these threats to nature?
Well, again, starting with the global picture, it's pretty grim. WWF has an index that they measure since the 1970s, and they reckon overall about 60% of wildlife has been lost since the 1970s. And all the trends, that we have from long-term monitoring data in the UK point to, very similar figures. And of course, in the UK, back to the Industrial Revolution and the World Wars and everything else, the loss of nature began a lot earlier than that. And it's pretty striking that if we look at the rankings internationally, we are one of the most nature depleted countries in the world. It's pretty sad. If we look at our forest cover, our woodland cover, England, it's just a bit over 10%. Whereas even in the EU, it's as much as 40%. So we really are right down there in terms of the impacts we've had on our environment. Looking locally, it's very hard to find good long-term data for many species. We don't have long-term data on moths and other insects, butterflies. The bird data is the best we've got. It goes back to the mid-1970s when 2 atlases have been carried out for the British Trust for Ornithology, led by Devon Birds here locally. And those have shown that between the mid-1970s and the last atlas, which ended in 2013, more than twice as many species have been declining or been lost indeed than have been gained or are increasing. And even in the 20 years that I've lived here and looked at this area where we have our farm in some detail, gosh, we've lost some amazing things. In the valley here, we've lost breeding lapwing, we've lost breeding curlew, breeding cuckoos, lesser spotted woodpecker, and there are many other species on the brink of going. I'm really worried at the moment about one of my favorites, which is the house martin. I think a lot of people will know the house martin from their villages around, breeding under the eaves of the houses. We used to have 13 pairs in a colony here. They declined and declined. 2018, 2 pairs. 2019, for the first time, none at all. And this year, they should now be nest building and on eggs, and we've had none looking at all. They seem to have almost disappeared, and I fear that a lot of other people will be seeing the same. There are certainly a few around, but I think the decline is very severe.
Do we have any understanding of why they're declining?
Well, the reasons for nature loss are very complex. There are many reasons. I think globally and nationally and locally, the evidence points strongly to the intensification of land use. We've got bigger machinery that can do anything. We've got chemicals that can do anything. They can get rid of every insect, every weed that we want to get rid of. And we can get to almost every corner of the land. In the past, the wet boggy bits, you couldn't get to them. So it's that intensification of land use. And obviously there has been quite a lot of land lost to development, but I don't think in the biosphere area that's big enough to be a major factor. Climate change, certainly an important factor. Many species are responding to climate change, moving further north and finding they can't live in the same areas. Our freshwater environments have been particularly impacted. Rivers, they reflect the use of the landscape, and so the impoverishment of the soils, a lot of runoff of sediments of nutrients going into the rivers. Our salmon populations have collapsed. The Tortorage used to be a very big salmon river, but they are now really down at rock bottom. So again, big impacts there.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, isn't it? Okay, so
I think let me interrupt you. I don't want to leave you with the sense that everything is negative. I mean, it's not. There are some great things going on. There's a lot of inspired farmers out there, some organizations doing wonderful stuff. The local conservation organizations, Devon Wildlife Trust, West Country Rivers Trust, National Trust, they're all doing great things. And there's lots of volunteering going on doing things. And there are some very good stories. I mean, otters, fantastic. We've got them back. And that's largely due to changing pesticide usage, probably, that's gone into the rivers. So they're back. And wow, wouldn't it be fantastic fantastic to have beavers back. That's on the agenda big time. And, Devon Wildlife Trust are completing their trial now for the possible release of beavers, and they will do great things for our freshwater environment.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, isn't it? Hopefully there should be lots of developments in the future. And I definitely think with this kind of lockdown situation that we've had, a lot of people are now noticing nature a lot more. I've heard lots of people say, oh, I want to know birdsong, I want to know wildflowers. So I'm wondering if you have any tips for people who are interested in taking their nature idea a bit further.
Yeah, it's been great being able to spend a bit more time looking at nature, not so much at the computer the whole time or at work the whole time. So yes, I just love it. I love spending my time out in the environment, looking at nature. I'm a bit of a my main expertise probably is a birder, because that's what I did my PhD in years ago. I did ecological work on birds in south of France, and flowers I find a bit of and other things like moths. I almost have to learn them anew every year because it's really difficult to keep everything in your head. But birding gives you a few tips. Focus on the habitats you're in. If you really think about the habitats, you can narrow down the number of species that you need to identify. So if it's got wood in the name of it, wood sorrel or wood anemone or whatever, that gives you a good chance to get them. The other thing is keep lists. I think keeping a list of the ones that you know and you can identify, and keep maybe a photo album as well. Go out there with your camera, snap them, keep a photo album, and then the new ones will be obviously new, and you can then use the fantastic tools that are available on your smartphone, different identification guides or apps to actually track them down. But it's great fun, great way to learn, great way to engage.
Yeah, I think it's important to note about the habitats, isn't it? Because you're not going to find a real extreme like a crab on top of a mountain, are you? So it's like getting to know what to expect. And I know, I've been using the Save Butterflies butterfly conservation iRecord app, and that's been great for recording some local butterflies. And again, it tells you what butterfly you might expect in your area. So
I have a good anecdote from someone I spoke to yesterday, who told me that they were down on the beach on the North Devon coast, and they saw a grass snake crossing out on the beach and feeding on invertebrates from the rock pools. So there's an example where habitats don't help too much. I've never heard of that in my life before. I mean, amazing observation.
maybe with the quieter beaches or something. Okay, so maybe let's go to your farm now. So you've got a farm in Chulmleigh. What changes have you done on your farm? What pledges for nature have you made that you're like really happy that you've done?
Well, we decided very early on to go organic, and I think that's a fantastic thing for farms to do. It's a real way of avoiding use of chemicals and really considering the soils as a key underpinning element of nature on your farm. And we entered into the Countryside Stewardship Schemes as well. We've been working with those for a long time, and they've made a huge difference to nature on the farm. And I'd encourage any farmer, any land manager to consider those. The most exciting thing we did, without any doubt, was to create a new woodland on a 5-hectare piece of quite improved pasture. We did that 18 years ago, and it's now a beautiful woodland. And every year we find new species of flowers. The bluebells are invading it. We find new insects, new butterflies. It's new birds breeding in there. We've got willow warblers, two or three pairs of willow warblers now breeding in there. There's lots of stuff using it. So that's been really great. But you can do lots of other really incredible things, and I've made a few pledges, putting up nest boxes. We've got grey wagtail breeding in the dipper nest box I put up on the bridge down on the stream below our farm. You can do lots of interesting things. So we have we've given over lots of our garden to wildlife now, so it gets rougher and rougher each year. Let a corner go wild, put in compost heaps, put in bug hotels. You can begin to attract things. We've got lots of slow worms now, toads, frogs, and last year even had a grass snake in the vegetable garden, which was really great. So if you've got a bit of space, if you've got a small garden, you can still do great things. Put a pond in, let a corner of it go wild, and you will get wildlife. Ponds are incredible. I mean, after 2 or 3 weeks, you'll find already there's stuff beginning to colonize it, and it's amazing where it comes from.
I was going to say, a pond seems to be one of the best ways, doesn't it? Because animals need to drink, and they also, move in. And I've been watching my tadpoles grow for the last couple of weeks, which is always
it's really inspiring.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll kind of draw this to a close. But what message would you like to give out to the people of North Devon Biosphere and the wider community about nature?
Well, I chair the Nature Improvement Group for the Biosphere, and that brings together all of the organisations that are working for nature conservation and the local councils and everyone else. And we meet on a regular basis and move projects forward. And as you know, we've launched this new project called Pledge for Nature. Now, what we've realized is that the conservation organizations, they're all working incredibly hard. They're doing what they can. National Trust doing some fantastic restoration work on the coast. All the other organizations I've mentioned doing lots of things, but it's not enough. We're just holding the line. We're not making significant progress. Nature is still, if anything, declining. So we've decided that we really need to ask the community, everyone who can do anything, whether it's in your garden, whether you're a farmer, whether you're a school or you're running a business, please do something for nature. So if you're a farmer, think have you got some corners of your farm which aren't the most productive ones that are so important to your business that you could let go a bit wilder for nature? Can you adjust your farming techniques to make them more nature friendly? If you've got a garden, let a corner of it go wild. Get a pond in there. Put some nest boxes up. If you don't have a garden, can you volunteer? Can you go and join and help? Once COVID's over and we can all get back out in the area, do something. So, as I say, we've set up this new project. There's lots of guidance online on how to do different things that can help nature. And if you need more help, if you want to talk to someone, contact Bryony. I'm sure she'll help send you in the right direction. She can signpost you to other people in different organizations who can help. There's lots of support available. So please think about what you can do, put your pledges up on the website, and join us in this effort. Join the social media so that you can catch up on what's going on. Nature really needs your help. It's time to act.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I think again that's a really important message. If everyone did their little bit, connecting gardens with hedgehog highways or adding a small bit of water as a pond, I think everything makes a little difference, doesn't it? So yeah, our website is at the top of my screen. You can fill in the short form, and then it makes a pin on our pledge map, and you can also see what other people have been doing in your area. So, and there's also loads of opportunities from citizen science. I think that's really big at the moment. So yeah, hopefully everyone can get involved. And thank you, Mike, for speaking to us today. And we look forward to doing more of these in the future.
Thanks, Bryony.
Thanks. Bye.